It was a cold evening in Atlanta when little Amara, a thin, barefooted black girl no older than 11, walked the streets clutching a torn plastic bag that held only a cracked notebook and a dull pencil. Her hair was uncombed, her clothes worn and patched, and her eyes carried the kind of hunger that went beyond food. It was the hunger of a soul that had been denied comfort, love, and opportunity. Her mother had passed away 3 winters ago from pneumonia, and her father, a construction worker, had died in an accident at a site just months later. Since then, Amara had lived with her grandmother in a broken-down one-room shack at the edge of the city. The grandmother, frail and nearly blind, did her best to care for the child, but their cupboards were almost always empty, and on some nights, the only thing they shared for dinner was boiled water and the sound of their stomachs crying out for more. One evening, while wandering through a wealthier neighborhood searching trash cans for scraps, Amara stopped outside the towering iron gates of a sprawling mansion. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, with its marble pillars, sparkling windows, and long driveway lined with expensive cars. To Amara, it looked like a palace straight from her grandmother's bedtime stories. She pressed her face against the gate and inhaled the smell of roasted meat and bread drifting from the kitchen. Her stomach growled loudly, but more than the food, something else caught her eye. Through the wide glass windows of the mansion, she saw a man sitting in a motorized wheelchair. His hair was silver, his face pale and stern, and his posture stiff. She recognized him instantly from the newsstands and billboards she had passed in the city: Alexander Grant, the paralyzed real estate tycoon worth hundreds of millions. People whispered that he had once been the most powerful man in Atlanta's business world, until a car crash 3 years ago left him unable to walk, trapped inside his own mansion with only nurses, caretakers, and money for company. Amara had no reason to believe a man like him would ever look at a child like her. Yet something in her small, defiant heart pushed her forward. She squeezed through a side opening in the gate, tiptoed up the long driveway, and finally stood at the glass door, trembling. A butler spotted her and rushed forward, ready to chase her off, but before he could, Alexander lifted a hand to stop him. His voice, though tired, was commanding. "Let her in," he said. "I want to hear what she wants." When Amara stepped inside, her bare feet leaving little prints on the polished marble floor, Alexander studied her. "Why are you here?" he asked, his tone sharp, as though he already knew the answer. Amara swallowed hard and said, "I came to ask if you would trade your leftovers for a miracle." The room went silent. The butler looked shocked, then angry at her audacity. But Alexander threw his head back and laughed, a deep, bitter laugh that echoed off the walls. "A miracle? And what miracle could you possibly give me, little beggar girl? I've spent billions trying to buy one. Doctors, machines, therapists, healers. None could give me back my legs. What do you think you can do?" Amara's voice was steady despite the tears in her eyes. "I can't heal you, sir. But I can promise something money can't buy. If you give me your leftovers, I will give you prayer. Every night, I will pray for you, not because you are rich, but because God listens to the poor when they pray with pure hearts. My grandmother told me so. You may not believe, but I do. That is my miracle to trade." The butler scoffed, ready to drag her out, but Alexander raised a hand again. Something about the girl's fearless sincerity pierced through the layers of cynicism that had covered his heart. For years, he had mocked faith, mocked hope, and lived only in bitterness. Yet here was a hungry child offering him something he had never once thought of: prayer as an act of trade. He chuckled, shaking his head. "Fine, little prophet. We'll play your game. Every night, the kitchen throws away enough food to feed an army. You can have the leftovers. In return, you pray for me. Let's see if your God listens." And so it began. Each evening, Amara returned to the mansion with her bag. The chef, grumbling, packed boxes of untouched gourmet meals: steak, bread, fruits, vegetables, even cakes. Amara carried them home, shared with her grandmother, and often with other hungry children in the neighborhood. But she kept her promise. At night, she knelt on the wooden floor of her grandmother's shack, bowed her head, and whispered prayers. They were not grand words, just simple pleas. "God, please heal Mr. Grant's heart, if not his legs. Please show him kindness. Please make him smile again.